Alright. Let's resume, shall we? We have autosave, which was our last save. It's obviously here. The Haunted Furnace. Did we get a chapter drop for this? Alright. We are talking to... No. If it be true that I thought... I could not be with... Oh, God. Get me out. Alright. Supervisor Ho. Mr. Shen, what else would you like to know? Foreman Ting's relationships? Mr. Ho, you seem to be quite familiar with Mr. Robinson. I speak a bit of Mr. Robinson's language, so sometimes I can help him with communications. Please, help. Mr. Robinson is a very interesting person. I really enjoy talking to him. How is Foreman Ting's relationship with Mr. Robinson? Foreman Ting used to be Mr. Robinson's assistant, but their relationship was never too close. You both have probably already heard about Foreman Ting beating up Mr. Robinson or what? Sorry? What was the specific reason for that? Foreman Ting came to ask Mr. Robinson in private to help him test the steel made by his methods. I recall this. I don't recall him beating him up. Mr. Robinson agreed and ran tests over and over again, but the results were unsatisfactory. Foreman Ting was quite stubborn and insisted that Mr. Robinson was being half-hearted. Mr. Robinson only meant to help, so naturally he resented Foreman Ting's accusations. Mr. Robinson's words became quite harsh. Foreman Ting was so angry that he beat up Mr. Robinson. Here's to you, Mr. Robinson. The battle was only resolved when Mr. Lee stepped in. After all, Foreman Ting was just too eager to achieve success. Obviously had a deadline. No more questions. Oh. Who's that? Look, Shen, it's a portrait of Zhang Zhidong. Zhang Zhidong. Mr. Zhang advocates education and industry. He's a person I admire greatly. Ooh. Zhang Zhidong was a representative figure of the Western affairs movement of the late Qing dynasty. Need to double check that. I think ultimate confirmation here was that it is in fact pronounced Qing. The Q. But hang on, I actually want to confirm that. So it's Qing, but not Qing. The CH sound isn't really a thing in Mandarin Chinese, I believe. It still comes off that way pronounced in English. It's a slightly different sound. Saying Qing is close enough, but does not feel right to me. Qing? I'm dwelling on that movement, but I want to at least... My goal in working through pronunciations is to not pronounce it offensively horribly. Try and be relatively faithful. Do my best to learn. So, Zhang Zhidong, represented figure of the Western affairs movement in the late Qing dynasty. He advocated the Chinese traditional values for foundation, Western ideology for practical use. Chinese traditional values for foundation, Western ideology for practical use. That's an interesting... that's a real interesting... Kind of like that. Respect for your historical values and... respect for your history, but also respect for the global standard of interaction, I guess. Having experienced the Sino-French War, he was deeply aware of the importance of industrial development. The spring of 1890, as the Viceroy of Hugua, Hu... Hmm. As the viceroy of Huguang, he collected funds from various places. Going through the hardship, he was finally able to begin the construction of the Hanyang Ironworks in 1891 and began officially producing iron from June 30th, 1894. That's right, that's where we heard the name before. He opened the Hanyang Ironworks. With the most advanced technology in the world at the time, he produced the first furnace molten steel in China. That's a profoundly interesting man. A stack of documents, a bottle of ink, and a quill pen are placed on the desk. Test report, huh? This is a chemical test report for steel. Steel in this report is made by using coal from Westphalia. All indexes are up to standard. Steel in this report is made by a mixture of Chinese coke breeze and anthracite. What a shame! Due to the high phosphorus content, fragmentation easily appears in the steel. It seems that the choice of fuel really affects the quality of the steel. A complete account of iron manufacture, electricity. The bookshelf is full of technical books. The remaining documents are all in foreign languages. Natural philosophy is the first book I read about the study of physics. Oh, okay, that just right straight up opens it. During the mid-19th century, the increasingly close cultural exchanges between China and foreign countries, as well as the influx of Western missionaries, brought modern scientific and technological knowledge into China. Natural philosophy, compiled by Englishman Benjamin Hobson, was regarded as an enlightening read for Chinese people on Western science and technology. Divided into 3 collections, natural philosophy touched on physics, chemistry, astronomy, zoology, and other knowledge. Ideologist Wang Tao evaluated this composition, saying that a scholar who studies the phenomena of nature to acquire knowledge must start from here and set this as their standard. Natural philosophy being a core foundation of all these different areas of science. It's reasonable. Hey, there's our girl. Miss Wen, are you also here to investigate the laboratory? I'm here for the photos. The camera was destroyed, but fortunately the film inside was untouched. Mr. Robinson from the laboratory helped me develop them. What kind of photos did you take? Can we have a look? I only took a few, and most of them were scenery shots. You can see for yourself. Shen, let's take a look at Miss Wen's photos. One moment. There are still a few questions that I would like to ask Miss Wen. Ask away, great detective. As you are writing a report on the Ironworks, you must know its recent developments. Well, of course, I'm a senior reporter. It's really difficult for national enterprises like the Hanyang Ironworks to develop and grow. We need to buy foreign equipment. Even mineral resources are controlled by foreigners. The market, foreigners control the right to build most railways in China. They're the ones who decide whose steel rails to buy and what the standards for testing are. Take the Shanghai-Nanjing Railway with a British chief engineer, for example. The agreement specifies that the British in charge of the purchasing take a commission of 5%. Naturally, the British will choose to buy Western products to gain more profit. When they purchase steel rails, they would nitpick at Hanyang Ironworks' products. Oh. So they might just be nitpicking in order to buy the more expensive shit and get a bigger commission. Recently, the Ironworks is more competitive due to a new method that greatly reduced costs. However, rumors about the bad quality of its steel rails have sent the Ironworks to rock bottom. No wonder Deputy Administrator Lee seems so anxious. That's why he hopes that my news report can help them restore their reputation. Ask away, detective. No more questions. I want to see your photos. Show us your photos. No more questions. Okay, fine. Brazier. Bring back memories. There's some paper ashes in the brazier that seem to have burned out not long ago. This brazier brings back some bad memories. For sure. questions? Oh, now we can take a look. Oh, they're right here. On the left is a photo of Hanyang Ironworks' freight dock. In the middle is a photo of the molten steel basin. We've seen this before. This photo was taken in the office furnace on the furnace factory floor.
Huh?
Hmm? The office in the photo looks different to what it's like now. Deputy Administrator Lee, Supervisor Ho, and Foreman Ting. Miss Wen, was this photo taken yesterday evening as well? Yep. What about it? This detail in the photo differs from how the office is now. That seems quite peculiar. Shine's still there. Shane, the money bag and the money on the desk disappeared without a trace. This money was probably taken to pay wages, right? That's right. There's nothing peculiar about that. Don't really have anything about the shrine. Shen, let's take a look at another detail. Oh. Desk lamp, paperweight, prowlings, pen holder, inkstone, other items, dust on them. What we're doing yesterday evening of the steam turbines. What am I looking at then? It's on the photo. Shed, the blueprints on the wall changed. The photo of flowchart of the steel-making process was placed above the map. And now it's a working drawing of the open hearth furnace. Furthermore, the map of the photo looks evidently more worn down. Who did it? Why would they suddenly make such a change? When the incident occurred, I was at the office. The blueprints were switched out then. Shen, do you think this could be related to Foreman Ting's death? It is hard to believe that there is no connection whatsoever between these two. Could it be that the suspect did it? We cannot rule out the possibility that Foreman Ting did this. What? Hi? Was it necessary that... Was it necessary for Foreman Ting to replace the flowchart with a working drawing? Thanks for jump-scaring me. Could you not surprise me like that? Could you not avoid the subject? Answer me. Was it necessary for Foreman Ting to replace the flowchart with a working drawing? Foreman Ting replaced the flow... no need. There was no need. Both furnaces are in operation. It didn't make any sense to hang the working drawing up again. Foreman Ting had no reason to change the blueprints, nor did other workers. Unless the suspect did it. Go on. Does the suspect have a valid reason to replace the blueprint? Steel making... The workshop... So the workshop... Cover up traces of what? The thing that was there was a steel-making process flowchart. What was there afterwards was the furnace construction plan. Was it to cover up traces on the wall? That's not right. The size and location of the blueprints have not changed. What will they be destroying by doing that? Leave a message? No? I've already examined them. Nothing special about the two blueprints. No traces of handwriting. Should be another reason. Erase the blueprint to destroy information about the steel-making process. Clearly there was some information on the paper that they did not want us to see. In order to destroy it, they switched out both of the blueprints. So, what kind of information was it? Nothing special about the two blueprints in the photo. No traces of handwriting on them either. Aside from its worn-out state, the map is the exact same as the map on the wall now. Which means... the map is the exact same as the map on the wall now. Left alone. Alright. Information could have only been left alone. After the photo was taken, new information appeared on the blueprints that were torn off. So what's the new information? There are too many possibilities. No, the suspect has only one reason to hide evidence. Hidden evidence will reveal their crime. Rumors say Ting was killed by ghosts, but he was most likely murdered before falling into the ladle. This means that the new information that appeared on the blueprints was... do I know? No complaint, no? Is there a need to write a dying message on two large sheets of paper placed next to each other? No. There's abundance of paper in the office. It was most likely bloodstains. The suspect is trying to make people believe Ting was killed by ghosts. If a bloodstain is found on the factory floor, their schemes would be exposed. Evidence. Give me evidence that supports your deduction. Evidence. What other evidence have I yet to consider? Evidence that could indirectly prove the deceased was injured and bleeding is... That's right. Foreman Ting abnormally wore a headcloth this morning. The headcloth may have been used to cover the scars and bloodstains on his head. However, this is not enough to prove the hypothesis I just made. Unfortunately, the body has been destroyed, otherwise an autopsy would reveal everything. Even if it's just a hypothesis, at least it tells us that. The primary crime scene is most likely the office. Shen? Shen? Are you alright? Did your headache act up again? I'm fine. Just now, I have understood something. It is most likely that the office was the primary crime scene. The blueprints were switched out because blood spattered across them. Whoa, so that's what it was. However, this is just a hypothesis. We need to find a way to prove it. If blood splattered onto the blueprints, we should be able to find bloodstains on the wall. But we didn't find anything at all, so it must have been wiped clean. If only we could find a way to test for it. Mr. Scientist? Will it be true that I can hope they pretty do let me know? Oh, God. No more questions? It's highly possible that the, Oh, we didn't check here. A variety of reagents are displayed in this cabinet. Hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, ammonia, hydrogen peroxide? They really do have everything! Afu, what kind of experiments are these reagents used for? They're mainly used to test the composition of minerals and steel. I see. What? Shannon, you're right. I am fine. Just remembered a few unpleasant memories. This is the horror game episode of this playthrough. As long as you're fine. Shit, I just found a bottle of reagent that's quite rare. Perhaps it could be of use. Shit, I've got an idea. My father's notes, I once read about an ammonia powder that glows when it reacts with blood. I never thought this laboratory would have it. See, this one. The scientific name for it is 3-amniothalhydrazide. Amniothalhydrazide. We can try to prepare a blood detection reagent. That would be wonderful. Let's go borrow Mr. Robinson's laboratory table. It'd be true that though. I mean, the upside is that we don't have to actually talk to him. Okay. It's time to prepare the blood detection reagent. Remember, left for items, right for weights. Just need to follow my father's notes step by step. I'm sure it'll be made perfectly. New formula. .2 grams of luminol. .90 mils of H2O. Where the hell do I get normal water? We'll come back to that. H2O2. Oh. Oh, okay, here's the liquids. Oh, we gotta play this game. 90 mils. Oh, I put in the wrong one. Better have followed the recipe and note. Eh? Oh, this is what you want me to do. 90 mils. What? Oh, I'm an idiot. That's why it's numbered. You said the scales. That got me an achievement somehow. Alright. Wait. Okay, step 1 is done. What is step 2? 6 grams of NaOH. I can do chemistry. Yoink. Alright. H2O. Alright. 40 mils of H2O2. That's like me! The blood detection reagent is all done. Alright. Oxidation reaction will between the reagent prepared by a foo and the iron and hemoglobin will produce a glow. Excellent. Let us go to the office for verification. Ooh, first try, baby. I totally did not scuff that up. I totally scuffed it up. Steel ingots casted from molten steel in ladle number 2 after the incident. According to a foo, the remains of the deceased will not be within them. Well, that's good. Hey, Lee. Your Honor, there are a few questions about the shrine that I would like to ask you. There's no harm in asking. I heard that Mr. Deputy Administrator was the one who arranged the statue. Foreman Ting repeatedly asked me to invite the gods in, and I couldn't argue with him. He was quite concerned about this, and even built the shrine by himself. Who would know that after the gods were invited in, all these terrible things would happen? So Foreman Ting built the shrine and the altar by himself. Shen, we didn't check the altar beneath the shrine earlier. No matter, feel free to investigate it. As long as you can solve the case as soon as possible. Oh, okay. Evidence examination. Oh, wow. Alright, we're a proper ace attorney. A wooden altar, so simple in structure that it doesn't even have a drawer. Oh, not a foo voice. And there's half a stick of red candle on the candlestick that has already been pulled out. There are 3 sticks of incense placed vertically on the incense burner. A statue of Ganjiang and Mo Ye. It's just a normal statue with no mechanisms or secret compartments. A shrine made of rosewood. The carvings aren't that meticulous. You could even say it's ugly. So Foreman Ting built this with his own hands. Huh? Behind the altar is a secret compartment. Let's see here. It's open. Whoa. Lots of goodies. Look, Shen, there's a lot of containers and reagents in this secret compartment. He's doing his own chemistry back here. It appears this is the true secret of the shrine. There are 3 bottles placed on the shelf, one of which has been sealed at the mouth. I can't read the label on the bottle clearly, so I'll open it. There's a gunpowder smell. I got it, Shen. This bottle contains concentrated nitric acid. Concerning. 2 pieces of steel soaked in reagents seems to have been corroded. One of the labels says sample made by pig iron burnt with coal from Westphalia. The other label says sample made by a mixture of Chinese coke breeze and anthracite. What are the 2 tests? Westphalia tests seem to be well, but a crucible, an iron frame, a funnel, a beaker, a chemical flask, a dropper. These are all common appliances used for chemical experiments that are placed on the shelf. Ammonia, sodium hydroxide. These are all kinds of reagents placed on this shelf. there's a black mark on the partition board that feels hollow to the touch. It's the result of corrosion. Huh. I didn't expect there was a whole set of chemical appliances hidden within the shrine. So he was actually secretly conducting experiments instead of worshipping gods. I never knew any of this. Mr. Deputy Administrator, would it be possible to ask you a few more questions? Go on, Mr. Shen. Has Mr. Deputy Administrator ever seen these chemical appliances in the shrine? I never knew that he was secretly conducting experiments. However, these appliances do look like the ones used in the laboratory in the backyard. Is it possible that Foreman Ting borrowed these from the lab? I can't be sure, but Foreman Ting used to be the assistant to Mr. Robinson, the chemist there. Later on, when we needed a foreman on the factory floor, Mr. Robinson recommended him. Is it not true that he is overqualified for the job as a foreman? It is indeed more laborious and dangerous to work on the factory floor than in a laboratory. However, he had great enthusiasm for steel making. I recall you once said that he had always been studying open-hearth steel-making technology. Yes, in order to improve the formulation of steel to reduce cost and increase efficiency. The minerals obtained by our ironworks are mostly phosphate rocks left over by the Japanese. To produce good steel, we have to buy pricey phosphorus-free coke from the foreigners. But only our production costs high, the quality has always been unstable. After we used the open hearth process, product quality has improved, but its costs are still high. Ting suggested replacing foreign coke with a mixture of Pingshang coke, breeze, and anthracite. The steel would then be refined in the open hearth furnace as phosphorus is removed. The open hearth process uses the alkaline furnace, which is good at removing phosphorus. Nevertheless, this has nothing to do with the chemical appliances in the shrine. Any suggestions? I heard from the workers that there was a problem with a batch of the products. Ting's method reduced costs by 1/3. We also did some tests on its mechanical properties. The results are good. Therefore, we trial-produced a batch of steel rails. Good quality and low price helped us get orders from many railways. But that's when things went wrong? Ah, indeed. A test report from London came back saying that there were quality problems with our products. The report says that the carbon content of the steel was too low to be durable. The phosphorus content was too high and has prospects of fragmentation. As a result, the construction company for the railways refused to accept our steel rails. The public also accused us of cutting corners on such an important matter. I felt so ashamed. I'm sure Foreman Ting was also under a lot of stress, too. After that incident, Foreman Ting's condition hasn't been so good. He was actually secretly conducting experiments instead of worshipping gods. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Administrator. Fu and I shall continue investigating following this clue. Mr. Deputy Administrator, we suspect that the office was the scene of the crime. We need to detect blood. Shall we close the door and windows and turn off all the lights? As long as it contributes to the uncovering the truth, do whatever is convenient for you too. Oh, sprayed the blood detection reagent. Look, Shen, it's blood! Blood on the walls and the floor! Is everything that is glowing a blood stain? It appears that we need to reinvestigate this room. The bloodstains on the wall are mainly cast-off pattern bloodstains with a wide range. Preliminary judgment. The murder weapon was not a knife, but a blunt object instead.
Huh?
Could the murder weapon be something inside this room? If it is an object in this room, the murderer probably committed a crime of passion. I blame the lamp. Oh, every object, there wasn't any reactions to blood. Shen, I have a bold hypothesis. Go on. The gods did it. My instinct tells me that the murder weapon was the statue of Ganjiang and Mo Ye. The weight is appropriate, but the shape seems to be a bit short. You can try to test it. If we examine the shrine and the statue closely. There's no luminous reaction at all. I guess it wasn't the statue. Only my instincts were as sharp as Shen's. I do not rely on my instincts to solve cases, though. Shen, do you think this steel rail sample on the display shelf could be the murder weapon? You might as well try testing it. I'm afraid I can't. What is the matter? If the reagent is applied to the steel rail, the results might be inaccurate. Huh. Any reaction to the blood of the tables, chairs, and teacup over here. Wall with blueprints has cast-off pattern bloodstains as expected. The cast-off range is quite wide, so the murder weapon seems to be something that is very long. Take down the map and paste it back on later. Huh. The bloodstain on the wall stops when it reaches the map. Murder really switched out the blueprints to hide the bloodstains. Shen's deduction is incredible. There's any reaction to the blood on this clock, which means it's not the murder weapon. We are limited to everything within our field of view. There are 2 long cast-off pattern bloodstains on the board of name badges. The cast-off range is wider than any of the cases I have seen before. Shen, the name badges are blocking the bloodstains. Shall I take them down and test them? Sure, but keep a record of the hanging positions of each name badge. Understood. The hanging positions could also be clues. I've already tested all the name badges, and there weren't any reactions to the blood. Bloodstains on the copper board are continuous and unobscured. Shen, does this mean that the crime took place before the workers started work? You are correct. There's a blurry bloodstain on the floor with uneven thickness. This is a swipe pattern bloodstain left by the murderer when they cleaned up the crime scene. You see those parallel lines at the edges are swipe marks. Scattered spots surrounding the blurry bloodstain that seem to be projected bloodstains. This is the result of blood colliding and splattering all around. Such traces often appear at the scene when the victim is repeatedly hit by a blood instrument. Shen, these 2 bloodstains look really strange. This one looks like a symbol drawn on the bloodstained floor. The other one looks like a stamp, and it feels somewhat familiar. Nothing that could leave such a large bloodstain should be the murder weapon, right? That is highly possible. Like a footprint? Afu, this trace is very important and needs to be specifically recorded. No problem. We need to keep a gander out for those odd symbols. No more questions. Let's walk slowly. I suppose we're now looking for anything that could pass for the murder weapon. The existing evidence is enough for me to sort out some doubts. Luminol reaction. Chemical reagent that was first synthesized in 1853. Oh, wow. And emits blue light when oxidized. Due to Due to the bivalent iron in blood acting as a catalyst for this reaction, forensic science began using it in the 1930s to detect blood traces at crime scenes. I honestly had no idea it was that old. That's cool, honestly. Luminal reaction is highly sensitive, capable of detecting bloodstains that have been wiped away or are very old. In the story, the use of luminal by Afu is to detect blood. It's a fictional element. Oh. Right, this takes place before they actually started using it in mainstream sense to detect blood. Makes sense. Swipe pattern bloodstains. Moving source through collision or friction. Left bottom the contact area for a moving source. Right, so like if you try to sweep up blood, you get swipe patterns. Ejected bloodstains. Some form of energy has been transferred to a blood source through impact or force, resulting in blood spatters that fall upon surrounding surfaces. Generally categorized as impact splatters, splash pattern bloodstains, back spatters, and expirated blood. Let's enter. Shit, I know the principle behind the shrine unleashing its powers. It's related to the chemical reagents inside the cabinet. Exactly. The so-called powers of the shrine is actually... There was concentrated hydrochloric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid in the cabinet. When hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid meet, they produce a large amount of white fog. Fog is irritated to the throat, which should be why the reason why Ah Wu felt ill. Then how do we explain the smell of fireworks on the site? Right, I forgot about that. More time to rethink this. Remember when Ah Wu kicked the shrine? But he accidentally knocked over the concentrated nitric acid in the cabinet. Yes, it has a gunpowder smell. When it evaporates, it produces a yellowish white smoke. If that is the case, then Ah Wu fell ill because he inhaled acid. Yeah, nitric acid harms the respiratory tract. Ah Wu was close by. He probably inhaled a lot. They are afraid of ghosts and don't know chemistry. It's easy for them to be superstitious. Afu, that was good deducing. Classic me. Apparently, worshipping the shrine behind closed doors was just a cover. Foreman Ting was actually conducting some kind of chemical experiment in secret.
Huh?
But there's a laboratory in the factory. Why didn't he just go there to conduct experiments? Obviously, he did not want anyone to know. He must have had a reason. After the incident, the safest way for the suspect to leave would be to take the elevator. Need to go back to the surroundings of the charging area, and investigate once more. Alright, let's do that. Can we talk to Yenwu? Whee! Don't know why we had to do that, but... Oh, okay. We can just go over here, too. Oh, Lee, the factory floor is already quite arid. Why is there a tarpaulin covering the iron? Ting instructed us to do so. He was afraid the bulk material of the iron would be mixed up. Oh, Lee, there are still a few questions I would like to ask about this morning's incident. If there's anything else you need to ask, then just ask. Oh, briefed old Lee on his recent analysis. You're saying Foreman Ting was murdered? Was it because he provoked that thing in the shrine? Of course, we went into the office and nothing happened. Only between last night and this morning, have you noticed anything unusual? Or perhaps have you heard any strange noises? Nothing unusual. There's any strange noises. Were you working at the second floor furnace area all night? Yeah, sometimes I take a break. I never left, not even for a second. Spent the whole night on the second floor and found nothing unusual. It conflicts with, movements of the crane hook are exceedingly noisy. If you were really here all night, how could you have not known that someone used the crane hook last night? Uh-oh. Unless you were the person who moved the crane hook. That wasn't me. Last night, I did in fact leave the second floor furnace area. Where did you go? I stayed up past midnight. I was very hungry and I went to the dock to have a midnight snack. No way. If you left, who was looking after the furnace? The furnace could be unattended for an hour after materials are shoveled in. Patrolman Koo can prove it. Whenever I'm on duty, we go to the dock together around that time, I swear. I'm not lying. We'll trust your words for now. Is there anything else that you're hiding from us? No. Old Lee, have you ever opened the conveyor door after the incident? Well, that's... shocked reaction. If you keep fumbling, it'll just increase our suspicions. Well... Fine then. After the incident, I did open the conveyor door without permission. The fire was so intense, it's only natural that I fear death. Old Lee, it's only human nature to flee for your life. Why'd you keep this a secret earlier? After the incident this morning, when Foreman fell in and the fire broke out. Foreman fell in, fire broke out, he opened the conveyor. He opened the door. The elevator door. There are rules of operation that require workers to put out the fire as a priority. I didn't have the guts to stay, and I was also afraid they would cut my pay. I have a family to support, so many mouths to feed. Be at ease, Old Lee. We just want to uncover the truth. We do not intend to cause you any trouble. Thanks a lot. Didn't mean to break the rules. I'm not going to cause you any suspicion. Alright. After the incident, Old Lee had opened the conveyor door, so the suspect probably left through it. The splashes of molten steel make it impossible to pass through the stairs in front. For a long time after the incident, the conveyor door was the only way to leave the second floor. Shit, I understand now. There are only 3 possibilities. The murderer was Old Lee, someone Old Lee covered for, or someone left the scene after Old Lee. Shen, doesn't this mean that the person who didn't arrive at the scene immediately after the incident is the most suspicious? That is true. If that person is not Old Lee, there would be someone who is quite familiar with Old Lee. That is why he could predict Old Lee's behavior and use it to his advantage to carry out the plan. Patrolman Koo? We've already examined all the places that could be investigated within the Ironworks. It's time to ask Deputy Administrator Lee to gather everyone for a discussion. By gathering us all here, I'm sure Mr. Shen has come to a conclusion. There's no time to waste. Please begin right away. Ooh, alright. Our testimony. Through investigations, we can confirm that the death of Foreman Ting was the result of a murder. Furnace area where Ting's falling incident occurred was actually the secondary crime scene. I'm suspicious of Patrolman Ku. The murderer used a mechanism to make Ting jump into the ladle, staging a suicide. The presumed disappearing railing was actually a fake railing that was made from rubber. We found a batch of hard rubber blocks in the warehouse as well as traces from processing them. This kind of vulcanized rubber won't easily deform at room temperature. But when molten steel flows out, the rubber will gradually soften due to burning heat. The softened rubber railing wouldn't be able to sustain any weight at all. Ting's falling caused an explosion, burning up the rubber railing, which disappeared completely. The grayish-white powder we found on site was the residue from the burning of rubber. Those rubber blocks belonged to Hubei Arsenal and are stored here temporarily. Who knew that it would be used by someone with ulterior motives? This proves that the murderer knows the warehouse inventory like the back of their hands. After the incident, old Lee could not withstand the heat and open the conveyor door. So all the murderer had to do was take the elevator after old Lee left to make their getaway. If the murderer was on the second floor the entire time, how come old Lee never noticed them? That is because they were able to find a perfect hiding spot. The murderer must have hid in this location. This is a sheet of dust cover. The time the murderer hid underneath it along with the body. The furnace charger would have found them once he went to shovel materials. It takes 8 hours to purify steel in a furnace. Iron is required in the beginning. After that, only subsidiary materials are needed. Yes, that's right. There's no need for me to go back after I've shoveled the iron. This murderer is quite familiar with the steel-making process, huh? Based on what Mr. Shen said, wouldn't it be easier to say that old Lee was the murderer? That's true. He's the only person on the second floor. It would be easy for him to hide a body. It wasn't me. That's just like putting a kangu on an innocent man. I've been wronged. Mr. Shen, you know this more than anyone else. It really wasn't me. Considering this piece of evidence, I believe that old Lee was not the murderer. This new uniform, stained with rust, was discarded by someone and left in the warehouse. Only the chest and knees area of the uniform were stained extensively with rust. And rust only appears on the heap of iron scrap. It suggests that the wearer lying on his front in the iron heap. If old Lee was the murderer, there was no need for him to hide in the iron heap. Indeed. His job is there anyway, and it's not unusual for old Lee to be stained with rust. Instead, a person who doesn't usually wear a uniform is more likely to do so. Which means that the murderer most likely isn't a worker. Or management, if they are familiar with the inventory in the warehouse and the steel-making process. This when, being able to forge a suicide note should also be taken into consideration. Oh, of course! The murderer not only can write, but is also capable of imitating others' handwriting. It appears that Shen has come to a conclusion. Please identify the murderer as soon as possible. I'm going to say before this, I think it's Patrolman Ku. That's just my thought. Don't ask how I know. I think it's anti-Vu. Hmm. Murder was patrolman coup. What? Patrolman's job allows you to know everything like the back of your hand. Time is placed where, who will appear at what time, as well as the rumors in the factory. No one knows better than the patrolman. I'm afraid you two have some misconceptions about me. After the incident this morning, I've been patrolling the Ironworks. Everyone can prove this. And although this person is quite annoying, he does have a point there. Well, indeed, this was my oversight. Ow. Is it you? Boss! Robinson! He's familiar with the dispute with Foreman Ting. Yeah, I don't think it's that. Change it to one to hide in the heap. However, Mr. Robinson doth speaketh and writeth with a Shakespearean accent, so he can't mimic the handwriting. Yon's wherefore. Thither's nay way he couldst writ a suicide note like yond. He has no fixed working hours. He was out attending a banquet last night and has just arrived. I doth believeth yond he hath an alibi. I see, I was negligent in my judgment. I shall thinketh again. Okay, yeah. Darn. This means that my, anti-vu. It's still the anti-vu. Certainly not you. See, I'm somewhat suspicious of you. But you were an eyewitness, so it couldn't be you. Your little stick there might have been a good murder weapon. Totally not anti-vu. Supervisor Ho. I don't think it's likely, but that's the thing, we're running out of suspects. Let's run through the gambit. The prime suspect in this case is you, Mr. Ho. You are well written, so you could forge the suicide note. And you could have, Professor Ho does meet all the conditions, especially the one about imitating handwriting. Su Heng, what is the meaning of it? Your Honor, I believe that Mr. Shen is probably mistaken. If Foreman Ting was murdered, the murderer had to drag his body to the second floor. I'm just a feeble scholar, so it would have been impossible for me to do so. That would not be so difficult as long as you use this for support. For charging materials into the furnace, Old Lee usually takes a break from work for 1 hour. You knew about Old Lee's habits, so you took advantage of Old Lee's absence. Started the crane hook, then transported the corpse to the second floor furnace area. Ooh! Mr. Shen thinks that I'm the murderer, then fine, go on and regard me as the murderer. Su Heng, I entrusted him to investigate this case. It's his duty to report suspicious people. If you have any objections, it would be best that you prove your innocence. You do not need to force Supervisor Ho to prove his innocence, Mr. Deputy Administrator. Since I suspect Supervisor Ho, naturally I will provide evidence to prove it. Oh, is the money the murder weapon? Comparing the symbol on the bag to the symbol on the bloodstain and the small things around it could be money. Wow. Wow. Keep this in mind. I'll come back to this next time.